avid readers. Diana here, talking to you about Mystery Week 1 and the Road to Perdition. Now, as it says at the top, Continental Op is short for Continental Operative, one of Dashiell Hammett's more interesting characters, and another name for detective, and the name of a novel, of course. Now, we'll get back to Mr. Hammett's other character, Sam Spade, in the novel Maltese Falcon a little later in our brief discussion. Right now, let's jump into Road to Perdition and the three basic types of mystery story. There's the British, the American, or detective fiction or noir, the spy and the spy mystery. Okay? The British mystery is largely about the puzzle. Sherlock Holmes, Miss Marple, and Hercule Poirot are prime examples. Character is still important, but is secondary to plot. This is the game of Clue, who did what to who in what room. The extreme example of this is Rex Stout, Nero Wolfe, in which the detective solves crimes without ever leaving his apartment. The spy story, on the other hand, is a very different animal. This is about the game. Two players on either side pitting wits against one another using the whole world as their chessboard. Classic spies include James Bond and Jack Ryan, known for in the Hunt for Red October and Patriot Games and all the others. The Hannibal Lecter novels are actually spy stories with elements of horror. Think about it for a minute, and you'll see where we're coming from on this one. The image we're looking at here is from the classic British comic strip Modesty Blaze, which is a phenomenal, gutsy, independent woman who functions as a spy for hire to the British government. Great stuff. Now, although it has elements of all three, Road to Perdition is primarily an American mystery or noir. We'll discuss the other two types along with subtypes as we move on, but for this week, let's just look at the characteristics of noir as they apply to our text. This would be a real good time to go read the book if you've not yet done so. Take a minute, read the book, come back, pause, stop the video, and come back if you want. We'll still be here. Everybody read the book now? Okay, let's talk. There are several factors to consider in discussing this book. We need to look at how it fits into noir terms, how it departs from those terms, how it fits and departs from other genre conventions, and how it functions and doesn't function as history. In order to do this, we have to understand the terms of noir. The noir story is defined by specific characteristics. These are not absolutes, but they're factors that usually apply. Think the Pirates of the Caribbean and guidelines as opposed to rules, yes? First, there are no heroes in noir. There are only villains, victims, and survivors. The hero is the survivor who comes closest to having a moral code. For example, as Sam Spade said in the Maltese Falcon, when your partner is killed, you're supposed to do something about it. It doesn't matter what you thought of him, he was your partner. You're supposed to do something about it. Told you we'd get back to the Maltese Falcon. Also, women in noir are usually either asexual or untrustworthy. Women are often the villains, and they use seduction and murder to accomplish their goals. Women are very manipulative. The default for the sexualized woman is either villain or victim. If it's villain, she becomes the Black Widow. She mates and then she kills. Distrust of women in noir often leads to deep male bonding with homoerotic overtones. The extreme of this is the classic noir Gilda with Rita Hayworth and Glenn Ford. Well worth your time. Take a look at the skull floating in the smoke. I like that. It's a nice little graphic element. Visually, noir is most commonly associated with dark imagery. Lots of night, lots of alleys, lots of rain, lots of figures in deep shadow, heavy blacks and whites. Now, there is color in noir sometimes, but when it's used, the mood and tone remain dark and urgent, very tense. The colors that are used are often very loud in contrast to this, to push the edgy atmosphere of it. As you can imagine, these characteristics make noir terrific subject matter for comics and graphic novels. Some of the early graphic novels that used this were some episodes of Eisner's The Spirit, which are actually more comics. It Rhymes with Lust, and Chandler Red Tide by Jim Steranko, a book that is long overdue for a proper reprinting. Now, there are hundreds of contemporary examples. Some of the best are Whiteout, Sin City, 100 Bullets, and Scalped, and I would add Volcanic Revolver to that mix. If you've only seen the films of Whiteout or Sin City, do yourself a favor and read the books. Now, more than anything, noir is a will, a desire to fight against a perceived wrong, even if the morality of the hero opposing that wrong is ambiguous. But that ambiguity is based in a personal moral code that transcends law or societal convention. In this sense, the noir hero has commonalities with the superhero or even the supervillain. There are some strong women in noir, Dizzy in 100 Bullets, or the protagonist of Alan Rudolph's quirky noir, um, Remember My Name. Love that graphic. Love the graphic. Phenomenal. So with all this in place, what do we make of Road to Perdition? This book, Seduction of the Innocent, is a mystery, hard-boiled mystery novel about comics in the 1950s by the author of Road to Perdition. Okay. And this is his mystery comic character, Ms. Tree. Film Road is definitely noir by most standards, but there are other factors to consider. It's a family story. It's a narrative with tender moments and aspects of maturing and childhood understanding. It also has elements of history, as we alluded to previously. Now, it's a meditation on faith and trust. About betrayal, yes, as is most noir, but this one is also about trust more than many of them. Now, this makes it border on memoir. We'll talk more about memoir in a little bit, but consider the meditative aspects of this story in contrast with your previous expectations and experiences of noir. What do we make of Road in this context? The story does have many noir tropes: the mysterious father, the tenuous relationship with all forms of authority, Looney's son as the slithering menace with the weapon, and he's modeled on Peter Lorre and on Escobar in Chinatown. Let me get this play here.
That damn poor Simon shoe.
Hold it there, kitty cat. Hold it.
Hello, Quad. Where'd you get the midget? You're a very nosy fellow, kitty cat, huh? You know what happens to nosy fellows? Huh? No? Wanna guess? Huh? No? Okay. They lose their noses. Next time you lose the whole thing. Cut it off and feed it to my goldfish. Understand? Understand?
I understand, Gary.
I understand.
All right.
That's what noir really is at its best and at its worst. Chinatown. Now, let's talk history for a minute. The obvious historical aspect is prohibition. Alcohol was illegal. Organized crime rose as a result. This period has been romanticized from the time it first occurred to the present and continues to be so. Less noted aspect, non-Italian gangs. Road is about an Irish gang rather, but there were also Jewish, Chinese, Japanese, and Hispanic gangs and gang members in the 1920s. There have been two significant graphic novels about Jewish mobs, Ned Clyde's Brownsville and Joe Kubert's Jew Gangster, both well worth your time should you have the time. Now, another factor to consider in this is the art. There's a paradox in this art. It's a very formal style of art, dominated by very tight lines, reminiscent of engraving, as it mentions in the introduction. This is in direct contrast with the rough edges and usual, almost crude art that we see in some noir graphic novels. Doré and Dante are not the kind of work you usually see here, nor is Max Klinger, whose etching is seen below. I stumbled a little bit on that one, but I think you got the idea. So that's what we have to discuss this time. I think that's plenty. We have a framework in place. See the forum for specifics. There are a couple of articles linked in announcements, and I look forward to a fascinating discussion. We will see you on the boards. Thanks.